Hello, beautiful people. How's it going? Today we are going to be talking about being coachable. Are you coachable? This is something that is so important, especially when you're going on in your journey through personal growth. Um, and also when you're looking for your next partner when it comes to relationships or in a relationship, right? Because I know you've come across some people where if they're not coachable, if they're not compromising, and they're just kind of set in their ways, um, it can be very challenging, especially in a relationship, and ultimately it leads to them breaking up. So we want to get into this topic today, which I think is very important. So let's just break down really quick. What is being coachable? Defining it. Um, so some of the characteristics of a coachable person is just being open-minded. That's so important, just to have an open-mindedness, a willing to learn, and this is the key one, right? I have this saying that I say every day. Every day I'm learning something new. I don't care how much of work that I've done, and I know you guys told you guys have done this for 18 years now, on and off. But every day I am learning something new, and it's just so invaluable because then that way I always get to be surprised. I've never become stagnant, and so. Another characteristic is ability to take constructive feedback. Now that one hits home hard for a lot of people, and it still does for me, because no one, not a lot of people like that. And but when I learned to be able to just take constructive criticism, because I was just always striving to want to be better, it allowed me to be a much more coachable person. And then, of course, the last one is just having the ability to be flexibility or adaptivity, right? So just not being set in your ways. And that's the other opposite of this, which is those people that are set in their ways, the stubbornness, right? So let's define those characteristics. Um, Someone who is very resistant to change. Um, and this is something that very early on in my work, and I think even when I started doing this work, and just because you start doing this work does not mean that you can now be free of resistance to change. And for me, it took a very long time for me to really take a hard look at myself and realize how much I was resistant to wanting to change. And that stubbornness, because there was a lot of little things that I would kind of negotiate with myself. And I'm sure you guys can probably relate to this. And if you want, comment down below. Tell me, where you find that this has happened for you. But, resistance to change, it could just be that, like, oh, well, I don't need to really change that because I like that. And I'm not ready to let that go, right? That is all forms of resistance to change. The watching the Netflix, or binge watching it, or justifying with ourselves, like when we know we should be going to bed, and we're sitting up there watching TV all night, or maybe we're playing a video game, or just drinking a little bit too much than we know that we should be drinking, and things like that, right? Those self conversations that we have with ourselves, that we try to justify that it's okay. That is a key thing of resistance to change. And then, of course, you're not flexible. No flexibility whatsoever. It's my way or the highway. There is, especially in relationships, you'll find this a lot of times, that people are just kind of like, take it or leave it. This is who I am. That's it, right? And sometimes that's important because you want to establish solid boundaries, but at the same time, I mean, you got to remember that you do have a partner, and that you want to be able to meet in the middle. If you can do that, that's key, and then that's also a sign of being coachable. But when it's just like, nope, this is it, take it or leave it. And again, I mean, if it's a deal breaker, it makes sense. But that would be someone who's pretty much set in their ways. Okay. Um, the big one, and I think this is the one that you'll see a lot of people who are set in their ways that they struggle with mightily is resistance to, or having any reluctancy to want to have feedback. you know um, the minute you suggest, and again, it has to be a suggestion. This is something that I'm still learning. When you're talking to somebody, and you can usually tell when that person is open and when they're just like, I'm not open at all, I'm not ready to hear what you have to say. There's really nothing you can do in that moment, and that person's just letting you know they're not open to feedback. They don't want to any of your suggestions. And if you continue down those paths, it's just going to be get worse and worse and worse. And so of course that leads to stagnation of growth for that person, or for you in this case. And it's until you can overcome that and really start to ask yourself, am I coachable? That's when the work really starts to make a difference and change, right? Because just because you're doing this work, and this is something that I find, is that it doesn't mean that you're actually changing, right? Because there are certain things that can still, again, if you're resistant to, that could be that one thing that if you just made that change, then all of the everything the everything would just fall into place. And so these are questions that are very hard questions to ask, but they're so important to ask yourself. Are you coachable, or are you just kind of set in your ways? And be honest with yourself. Like what I like to do is I like to put it on a scale of 1 to 10. And, of course, one being I'm not set in my ways at all. I'm set in my ways completely. And then, 10 being I'm completely coachable. And then, be honest where you are, right? Because even for me, I think I'm probably now at about a 7, maybe an 8. There is still some resistance when it comes to certain things, but I find myself, because I'm aware of this now, that I'm more flexible when it comes to using this work, because I've just been doing it for so long. But it's not about time, honestly. Like, by knowing these principles and understanding this stuff, even if you're just a year or 3 months into this work, um, the sooner you are to be able to become coachable, the easier it is for you to actually start to really make these changes. Um, and this is what's going to really help with you in personal growth and development, and like learning new skills, gaining knowledge, problem solving, working well with others, and you talk about, like, in professional advancements and things like that. That's going to be very huge. And then, of course, again, because I know this is geared more towards relationships, imagine what type of communication and collaboration you're going to have once you know that you're coachable, and your partner's more coachable. And these are things that, for me, I know are pivotal, fundamental points that I need to have in order for me to even want to be in a relationship. If I don't have these, and I know that person's not even coachable, I just already know the relationship's not going to work. And so that's something that you want to start to really establish those healthy boundaries of what works for you and what doesn't. And yeah, like people say, like, relationship is about compromise, and it's true. So you want to make sure that your partner is coachable, but first you have to be coachable, and that's something that I keep reminding and telling myself. So that was just a little video that I wanted to go over and explain and talk about, and you guys really sit and digest that, and ask yourself, because I'm telling you that it's a great conversation to have, and to really like dig deep and see how coachable you are. And if you guys want to comment below, I recommend that too. Just kind of say, where do you see yourself? Are you coachable, or do you feel like you are more set in your ways? Do you know somebody who is kind of like just set in their ways, and can you relate to this type of topic? So that'll do it for today. And you guys have a little bit of homework, I guess, if you want to call it that, just to go ahead and be able to write that down, especially on a level of 1 to 10, and really just start to see, where am I coachable, where am I not. All right. Well, you guys take care and make it a great day. Take care.